Hello everybody, it's Jess here with Blessed Jess. Thank you so much for watching today. This video has been very much requested over the last month or so since I did the first part, and this is not how I wanted to film it. Basically the air conditioning is out at our apartment and they're working on it. He's supposedly there right now working on it, but I don't feel like doing my hair and makeup when it's like blazing hot in there. It's like giving me a headache even to be in the room. So I have damp hair, I have no makeup, and I'm in the car. However, I filmed part 1 of this story. It's been over a month ago, and it's a story of me and some of the health problems I had growing up. And you guys seem to really enjoy it. I probably have to leave the air conditioning on. I hope it isn't too loud in the camera. Because I'm enjoying the nice cool air conditioning. But it's a story that's very hard for me to share, and I'm trying to get better because it is my story. It is, you know, the things that you go through in life are, you know, allowed, they are purposeful, you know, not that God caused any of these things to happen, but I went through them for a reason, and part of that reason is to share with others. And it was very hard on me to share the first one, and this next part is going to be even harder because it was a very hard time in my life at a very, the teenage years are hard. No matter what you go through, they're hard. And I went through a lot of health problems in the middle of that. It was very stressful and emotional and scary. But I do want to share part 2 today, right here in the car. I'm waiting on the kids, and I need a video to go out tomorrow. And I was thinking and kind of praying about which one to film, and it just kept like coming into my mind like you should do part 2. And you guys have been messaging me saying, did you ever do part 2? I never saw it. No, I haven't, but here it is. So I hope I can get everything right and make sense of it all. So I can't remember the exact moment I left off on part 1, but basically, if you have not seen that video, stop right now, go watch that video. It'll be linked down below, then come back and watch this one. Otherwise it's not going to make any sense. But I had a medical condition called RSD, reflex sympathetic dystrophy. Now it's been named CRPS, which is it's a tongue twister. CRPS, complex regional pain syndrome, I believe. But anyway, so when I left off, anytime I got injured, and I'm not talking like fell down and broke my leg. Anytime I stubbed my toe, ran into something, and I'm very clumsy, it happens all the time. Anything that was a jarring, was any kind of thing, my nerves and whatever part of that body that I bumped into or twisted or whatever would kind of like fire. All the nerves would fire, and I would be in excruciating pain. It's like my body was responding to pain that wasn't even there, like the nerves in my body. And so we were constantly going into the hospital to get epidural, and it would kind of reset my nerves. It was no fun, and it was no joke, and that's how I spent part of my teenage years. Like, this is right around the time I was 15. And I remember my dad saying that if I was walking by my 16th birthday, because there for a while I couldn't walk until we found out that these epidurals would help. Again, all this is explained a lot better probably in the first one. That he would, if I was walking by the time I was 16, he would get me a car for my birthday. And I was able to take the test and pass that, and I was doing really good around the time I was 16. I had practiced a lot and took the test, and my dad and mom got me a car, and it was just such an exciting time. I kind of felt like, okay, we have this stuff behind us, and we have a plan. If anything else comes up, then we know what to do. I'm not going to be like unable to walk, because that was what had happened. I was unable to walk for months because I didn't know what was going on. And you guys heard that the last time, how my mom and dad really fought for answers, and then we got answers, and we got a treatment plan and everything, and so everything was getting a lot better. So everything's going along. 16, I'm back in school. Occasionally I would have to be pulled out for the day to go get an epidural or something like that, but I was mostly in school full-time back at my public school. I don't know if I talked about this, but yeah, I did. Right around the time all of this happened, I changed from a private school to a public school, and it was for a lot of different reasons I'm not going to get into now. But it was hard going from the private into the public school. It was a little bit of a culture shock, but I was starting to make friends, and I was starting to find my place a little bit. Well, one morning I woke up, I was 16, and I just had a terrible headache. And I get headaches. Like, I've always had migraines. You guys that watch my videos know, I say it all the time, I have a migraine. And I do. I get seasonal migraines, like with allergies and stuff, and then I get hormonal migraines. But this one was just different. I don't even remember exactly what was different about it, but I remember it being different. It was different than how it had always been. It wasn't like localized on one side like my migraines typically were. It was just a very intense pain. I don't remember exactly where it was or anything. I just remember it being a really bad pain. And I, told my mom, hey, I do not feel good. My head hurts so bad. And so she was like, you know what? At this time we were going to the chiropractor a lot, and she has migraines, and they were really helping her at the chiropractor. And so she's like, why don't we just run in there and just see if there's something they can do for your headache before we go to the doctor? Because like, I think she had tried to get an appointment or something and we both were just thinking, this is just a migraine, like wait it out and it'll be okay. But she's like, so she gave me some medicine or whatever, and nothing really helped. And she's like, let's just go by the chiropractor and let's just see if they can do something. And so they did whatever. I don't even remember what they did. They, aligned me, and I don't know if they massaged me. I don't remember what they did. But whatever they did, it did nothing. It did nothing. And we were driving back home, and I just was like, I am in so much pain. And I think at this point she had tried to call the doctor again, and we couldn't really get an appointment. I was like right on the fence of, being at the pediatrician and then going to an adult doctor. And she was like, you know what? We were passing by this doctor's office, and it was actually an urgent care. And she's like, why don't we just run in here real quick? Maybe they can prescribe you something, and then you can get this headache under control. And I said, I couldn't get away from it. And so we walked into this urgent care, and they said something about their doctor wasn't there, so they couldn't see me or something, or I don't know if they were too busy. There was some reason they could not see me at that one. But the doctor it was like an urgent care that was connected to a doctor's office. They were totally different. It wasn't like they were affiliated with each other or anything. But he just so happened to be standing up there and by the desk when they were telling my mom this, and he's like, hey, I don't have any patients right now. I can see her. And so, and that right there, that man right there, it was God that we were in that doctor's office. We had never been in there before. We had never met him before, but I truly believe that he saved my life. So we were like, okay. And so we check in and everything, and we go back there, and I'm just telling him about my head, fully thinking they're going to give me some medicine. I'm going to be on my way. It's just a migraine or whatever. And so he's like, the way you're describing this headache just makes me a little bit concerned. He said, I'm sure it's probably nothing. It's probably just a migraine, but I'm just a little bit concerned. So what we're going to do is we're going to send you for a CAT scan. We're just going to do a CAT scan of your brain, make sure there's nothing, concerning. And then as soon as I get the results back, I will phone you in some medicine. And my mom is like, well, how long is that all going to take? Because she's really hurting. And he's like, oh, I'll have the results immediately. He's like, I will make sure that you get your medicine. If everything's cool, which I fully expect it to be, he's like, I just want to be really cautious, which I don't think most doctors would have done that, especially the first time I've ever had any problems, like in going into them. Most doctors start with medicine or start with something. He's like, I don't know. Something about it doesn't feel right. So I want you to go get checked real quick over here at I had to go to an imaging center. And he's like, just real quick, just go in there, get your CAT scan, and I will phone you in some medicine. So we're like, okay. We were both kind of annoyed, like, oh gosh, we got to go do this. And I didn't feel good. Now I've got to go do this, So we get that done, not thinking anything about it. And we leave there, and I remember us going to like a grocery store to get something like real quick. We weren't doing like a full-on thing. And before we even got home, and we live like a mile from the place, before we even got home, my mom's phone rang. And I'm watching her, and it's like, you know, when your parents are trying to be strong for you, they don't want you to see them upset. Like, I could tell that was happening with her. And she's like, she was saying like, okay. And so she hung up the phone. I remember her saying like, it's not a tumor, right? And I'm thinking, what? A tumor? And so she remembers him saying, okay, it's not a tumor. And I heard her say that. And so she hung up the phone and she's like, we've got to go back for an MRI. They want a better picture. They said it's not a tumor, but there's something that they see they want a better picture of. I mean, can you even imagine? I'm 16 thinking, what? Like, what do you mean there's something? This isn't like I have this isn't an MRI or a CAT scan in my back or my arm. This is my brain. And they're saying there's something in there they see. So we go back to the imaging place, and okay, so you have to sit. If you've never had an MRI, it's like this big tunnel. You're laying on this bed and they move you through it, and it's my brain. So I'm all the way inside of this thing, which is a little bit claustrophobic, but I'm also petrified now because now that I know there's something wrong, I don't know what it is. And it was horrible. I mean, it felt like it went on forever. And after it was over, they couldn't really give me like full on results there. But they had the guy read it. And he said, it looks like you have an entanglement of blood vessels. And I don't remember if he said it, the name. It was an AVM, arterial venous malformation. And I had never heard of that. It's very, very rare. I mean, most people haven't heard of it. I did learn about it in nursing school after the fact, many years later. I was able to tell a lot of friends about it. But we had never heard of it. And after that, the doctor that we had seen got us in to see a children's neurologist the very next day. And but let me tell you first what all of this came out. So that day we found out that I was in the MRI and all that. We found out that I had an AVM, which is basically an entanglement of blood vessels. It's not like it's kind of like an aneurysm, but an aneurysm is like one blood vessel that kind of gets blocked, in my best understanding. An AVM is more like an entanglement of blood vessels, and it can cause a lot of problems because it can rupture. It's like a twisted blood vessel. It develops in utero. So as I was being developed in my mother's womb, it can like get tangled up as you develop. And it had been there my whole life. Most people don't find out about them until it ruptures. A lot of them don't have any signs, and then it ruptures. And it ruptures, I mean, you can have death immediately. You can have lasting severe side effects on a good prognosis if it ruptures. And the fact that we had caught it and it was not ruptured was a miracle. They said a lot of times people in labor, it will rupture because of the extra pressure and extra blood volume and everything. So here I am, 16, and I get told that I have this in my brain. I've always had this, and now it's kind of like a ticking time bomb. And so we go home that night, and the only way I can describe the feeling I felt just trying to process everything as such a young kid, I did not want to cry, was I felt numb. I just felt numb. Like I didn't have any feelings. I don't even know. I mean, I probably did cry, but I just felt so scared. I felt so scared. My mom was scared. Everybody was scared. And just not knowing what the future held. They told us that the next day we were going to go in to see the pediatric neurologist at Children's, and I was 16, so I was still young enough to see the pediatric neurologist. And he said that he would, after we talked to him, he told us that there was several different options in treating it, but he would feel best if he referred us to a different neurologist, one that wasn't just pediatric, but that was, and I don't remember the reasons why. I don't know if he was just a better specialist in this kind of thing. So they referred us to a different neurologist, and not in the same city. And we went there very shortly after. I don't remember how long all of this was. I know we were at the pediatric neurologist like the next day, and then he referred us, and we were very fast to see the other neurologist, just the main one, not a pediatric one. And so we go in and we see him, And he basically tells me that there are a couple options for, obviously he's like, we have to try to remove it because it's very, very dangerous to be in your head. The possibility of it rupturing are great, and you know, it has to be treated basically. So a couple of options to treat it: we could go in and we could just do brain surgery and cut it out. He said yours is very large, and it's kind of wrapped in your motor band of your right side. And so if we go in and do surgery, then you could have some lasting effects on your right side. You know, it's probably going to cause some sort of damage because other areas like healthy brain tissue can be damaged basically. Or he's like, there's this other procedure and it's called gamma knife, and it's basically where you go in and you are, I would be put completely to sleep. Adults, if you're over 18, you would be awake, just sedated. But I would be completely asleep, and they screw a halo. If you guys know what a halo is, it's basically they screw screws into your skull, and you wear this thing that fits into the machine because it has to be so precise. Your head has to be perfectly still. And a very intense beam of radiation focuses on the area, and they put radiation on it's kind of like radiation for cancer, but it's more precise. They can put it right on the spot that they need to target. And he said it's called gamma knife. He's like, I think this would be a better option for you because of where it is. But we need to make sure that you're a candidate for it. And I don't remember all the reasons what that meant. Hold on. Okay. So he's like, I don't know if you're a candidate. We need to do more testing, like to see more, because all we had done is the MRI. That was like the most we had done. And they needed to see a deeper, like exact, like how big it is and where it is and all this. And so he's like, so with gamma knife, at least for me, it meant if I qualified, which at this point we're all praying to God I qualified, because the other option is brain surgery, like actual going in. And gamma knife is considered brain surgery, but not like they're cutting open your head brain surgery. So basically I would have this done, but it doesn't fix it immediately. It takes a while for the radiation to shrink it. So I would have gamma knife done if I qualified for it. I would come back in 6 months just for a checkup, but there's no guarantee that it's going to even show anything at 6 months. It would take 3 years for it to have the chance to shrink. So he's like, you would have to have it, you know, just, it would be a longer process. So you would go in, we would have the gamma knife, you'd wait 3 years, and then, we would check you in 3 years and see if it was gone, or if maybe we need to do another round or whatever. He said also there is a chance that you could lose all of your hair, the hair, like some of your hair, and it could be permanent. It could be temporary, probably temporary, but there's a possibility it could be permanent. He's like, I need you to make sure that, and this would be, you're young now, but he's like, until this is resolved, you cannot get pregnant. Like, and we were kind of laughing, like, that's like the last thing on my mind right now, you know? And he's like, no, like this could go on for a while. And until this is resolved, like you cannot get pregnant. Like it just adds so many complications. And so I was like, it was one of those things that's like, there was pros and cons to both sides, but obviously in the best case scenario, the gamma knife would have been best, or would have been best, because there's not as many chances, if it goes right, to have all these lasting side effects like brain surgery. And of course, brain surgery is just, they're opening your head up, and there's all these other risks. So he said, and this is where I'm going to kind of finish up, and then this story is really long. I don't want to make this video an hour long. He's like, you need to go in for an arteriogram to get better pictures, and then we will know for sure if you qualify for gamma knife or not. And so I was like, okay. Again, at this time I was 16, so I was been able to be put to sleep for the arteriogram, which thank God, because later on I wasn't asleep for one, and you want to be asleep for it. Let me just tell you that. So basically what they do is they run a tube from your groin artery, like in your upper leg, your groin artery, all the way up. They run this tube all the way up into your brain, and then they shoot dye, like camera dye, like dye. They shoot dye up in there, and then they take pictures, like contrast, and they take pictures of your arteries, and I don't even know how it all works. But basically, a lot of people have arteriograms of their heart. I had it of my brain. So I was asleep through all this, thank God. And then after the arteriogram, you have to lay flat for so many hours because, you know, that groin artery, it has to like completely clog up or whatever. Clot up so that you don't, you know, bleed out everywhere. So I had to lay still for like 7 hours after, and I was in the hospital. And the doctor came in and he said, good news, you qualify for Gamma Knife. Actually, I don't know if we found out that day or he had to like call us. There was a lot. I feel like we were back at home by the time we got that call. And every time the phone would ring, I would be so nervous. Everybody was so nervous because we so in our hearts wanted me to qualify for Gamma Knife. But then at the same time, I was so scared to qualify for Gamma Knife because then it's like, I feel like, okay, here we go. Like years and years of having to deal with this. I'm 16. It's not fair. You know, at this time, I was going to high school and everybody was worried about prom and their cars and their jobs. And I'm worried about this, like life or death situation. It was very hard. How I got through it was God. There were so many people praying for me. And people would come over to our house and pray for me. And I don't know even how, looking back, how I even woke up every day and functioned, but I did. And just everyone's support and prayers. We had people all over the country praying for me. But that is where, before I cry right here anymore in the school parking lot, that is where I'm going to end it. So we find out I'm going to have this procedure done. And they had scheduled it. They said that the Gamma Knife machine was going in to be, they have to like do updates or something every few years. And it was due for their update. And he's like, we're going to schedule. So this was right around Thanksgiving that we found out all this. And he's like, we're going to schedule you for March to come in for the Gamma Knife procedure, which was a long way off when it feels like you have something in your brain that could rupture. We were like, okay, you know, we're gearing up for that. We get a call December like 20th or something saying, we have an opening. Can you come in 2 days for Gamma Knife? And it's going to be on December 22nd. Come to find out, that doctor that had found it at that urgent care place, he had been calling nonstop to try to get me in sooner. Like he just felt like I needed to get it in sooner. He wanted me in sooner. And so when they had that opening, they immediately called me and we said yes, of course, although I wanted to say no because I felt like I have all this time. And then it was like, no, it's happening like right now. So in the next time I talk to you guys, I will tell you all about the Gamma Knife procedure. I will tell you all about how those next 3 years went, and we'll just go from there. I hope this all made sense. It's very possible that it doesn't because it's a lot of information for me to try to remember. That's now, gosh, like 16 years ago, because I'm 32 right now, and all this happened when I was 16. So almost 17. This procedure, my birthday was on December 18th. This procedure happened on December 22nd. So I just turned 17 when I had this done. So craziest time of my life, but also the time where God was so faithful and he was always right there with me. And anyway, next time, you guys know it's a happy ending because I'm sitting here talking to you about it. You know it's a happy ending. So next time, part 3, hopefully it won't take me another month to do this. I need to just make myself do it. So part 3 is coming up soon, and I'll tell you all about the Gamma Knife. I'll tell you all about the 3 years that we had to wait, and then how we found out that it was gone and everything. So I love you guys. I really appreciate your support in these videos. If you liked it, make sure you give it a big thumbs up. Leave me a comment down below. Please subscribe if you're new. We just hit 15,000 subscribers. Amazing, unbelievable. Thank you all so much. We would love to have you a part of our YouTube family, and we'll talk to you guys all later.